Hey y'all, it's Toby from Good to Meet Ya. Welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to share all the books that I'm looking forward to in 2025 because there's a lot of them. I was making the list for this and I kept getting excited from each one. It just kept growing from there. I didn't realize that there were so many books coming out this year that I was going to just be like jumping out of my skin to be reading and going feral over. But like maybe it's just me. I don't know. But before we dive into that, I did want to share what a couple of my goals are for 2025 in terms of reading. I have a goal to read about 125 books. Reading is definitely my hobby. Like, I would rather read inside, be a homebody, than going out and doing things. Is that the best? Open to interpretation, but I really enjoy curling up with a good book, at the end of the day, during the day, any part of the day, and reading basically whatever I can get my hands on. I always tell people, like, in terms of if they want to read more or comparing to other people who are like reading more, definitely do not. Focus on books that you love and enjoy and go from there. Like, I think a lot of people try to force themselves to read things that they think they're supposed to be reading, and that's kind of what stops them from being able to read more throughout the year. Just read what you enjoy. Have fun with it, okay? There are no rules. So whether you read, 12 books a year or 100 plus books a year, reading is great, and I'm happy that you're reading, and I'm happy that you're here. All of that aside, yes. So my goal is 125, and that shouldn't be too difficult for me to hit. The last year I did 124. The year before that I did like 130 something. And my goal was 125 that year, and I was trying to like push myself through to get there. And for anyone else who's also struggling with ever trying to get to their like list, I Split Barbarians. I Split Barbarians will get you there every time because there's like 20 of those books, and I blacked out and read a solid chunk of them. And hey, it helped me. I think ideally one day I'd love it to be 150, but I want to see where I can do this year to push myself, keep at the 125 and see like how far I can go, because I'm also going to try and add some other like genre things in there. Like, I'd love to read some more autobiographies, a lot more sci-fi this year, and more traditional fantasy and not just romantasy. And those are thicker books. So I don't want to say 150 and then because I'm reading such large books, I kind of am further back from that. So I think 125 is just a nice, easy number for me. And don't worry, of course, I'll be sharing everything that I'm reading throughout the year on this channel, also on my Instagram, and at any of my little tracking sites below, Goodreads, Fable, or Storygraph. It's also very funny. I don't actually usually read the back of books. I either ask the vibes from a friend, or if it's an author I already love, I just go ahead and dive in, like just knowing like the small gist of it. I feel like sometimes the back gives too much information. But for the point of this video, I will be reading the descriptions of these books to kind of pull you in, tickle your fantasy a little bit, to kind of whet the palate, if you will, and see if you'll be just as excited for these books as I am. Also, quick blurb, I'm going to be reading the back of books that might be the third or fourth in the series. So if you haven't read the series yet, maybe skip to the next book because it might have a little bit of spoilers in there. I don't want that to happen because I hate a spoiler. Okay, so starting off for one of the earliest books that will be published in 2025, it's The Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Actually, I think it's just Deep End. I'm a huge Ali Hazelwood fan. I pretty much love everything that she puts out, at least a moderate amount. So I'm excited to kind of see where this one takes us. Here's a description. Scarlett Vandermeer is a swimming upstream, a junior at Stanford, and a student athlete who specializes in platform diving. Scarlett prefers to keep her head down, concentrating on getting into med school and on recovering from the injury that almost ended her career. She has no time for relationships, at least that's what she tells herself. Swim captain, world champion, and all-around aquatics golden boy, Lucas Blomqvist, seems Scandinavian, thrives on discipline. It's how he wins gold medals and breaks records. Complete focus with every stroke. On the surface, Lucas and Scarlett have nothing in common, until a well-guarded secret slips out and everything changes. So they start an arrangement, and as the pressure leading to the Olympics heats up, so does their relationship. It was supposed to be just a temporary, mutually satisfying fling, but when staying away from Lucas becomes impossible, Scarlett realizes that her heart might be treading into dangerous water. Come on. Does that not sound fun? If you're a fan of Ali Hazelwood, you know that she loves to do a good STEM type of romance mixed in there. So, of course, you have the leading lady again, who is a doctor, medicine, all this stuff. And her past few books have been getting a little higher on the spicy raunchiness level. Like Not in Love came out, and I think that was 100% her spiciest one yet. And then Bride kind of too was probably around the same level as the rest of them, but I'm excited to kind of see where this one goes in terms of like a sports romance. She hasn't done that, and I love that she's not afraid to take risks and kind of jump around in between the genres. So I'm all for it, Allie Hazelwood. Bring it on. Also, I remember when she was first telling that she was going to publish this book, and the working title was Wet, and her publishers wouldn't let her do it. So just think what they took from us, guys. What we could have had. But I will take Deep End. That's fine. Okay, next we have Can't Get Enough from My Girl, Kennedy Ryan. It's part of the Skyland series, which I love because it's based on these high-profile Black women in the Atlanta area. I'm originally from Georgia, so shout out. Love to see some Georgia Peach representation there. And this book in particular is about a woman named Hendrix, who I have loved all of her little cameos in the first two books from this series. She has always been portrayed as this child-free, really successful publicist in Atlanta for a bunch of like reality stars, athletes, moguls, whatever you name it. And so I'm excited because I feel like a lot of times, especially in older romances too, of like older age with like your female main character, the end goal is marriage and a baby. And as someone who is also child free, like I'm like, that's great, but like that's not necessarily the epilogue that I would like to see. So knowing that particular, like, and Kennedy Ryan has specified that she wants to keep her child free. So they just kind of see like that evolution where it's like, yeah, they might fall in love and have a baby, like, but, or yeah, they might fall in love, but that doesn't mean it has to end with procreation. So they can still spoil all of their little nieces and nephews from the rich auntie life. So the book says Hendrix Berry lives a fabulous life. She has phenomenal friends, a loving family, and a thriving business that places her in the entertainment industry's rarefied air. Your vision board, she's probably living it. She's a woman with goals, dreams, ambitions, always striving upward, and in the midst of everything, she's facing her toughest challenge yet, caring for an aging parent. Who has time for romance? From her experience, there's a low ROI on relationships. She hasn't met the man who can keep up with her anyway, until him. Tech mogul Maverick Bell is a dilemma wrapped in an exquisitely tailored suit and knee-melting charm. From their first charged glance at the summer's hottest party, Hendrix feels like she's met her match. Only he can't be. Mav may be the first to make her feel this seen and desired and appreciated, but he's the last one she can have. Forbidden fruit is the juiciest. Oh, and this man is off limits if she plans to stay the course she set for herself. But when Maverick gives chase, pursuing her, spoiling her, understanding her, is it time to let herself have something more? Come on. I also love in romance where like the guy is like, get anything you want. Here's my card. Have some fun. And it's gonna like hit different too because she's obviously super successful, so like she could get anything she wants. But like, I'll take your card anyway. You know? So love this for her. Love this for us reading and enjoying it. I think it's going to be filled with some very good chemistry and banter just from that description alone. And again, she's always been the funniest of the friend circle in between that Skyland series. The first one was Before I Let Go, which touched on like pregnancy loss and trauma and like second chance romance within a marriage. And then, you know, the second one again was This Could Be Us. And that's about a woman who got divorced and trying to find love again, dating again as a divorcee. So I love how each one brings something different to the table. And again, Kennedy Ryan is known for her deep conversations and within her romance. So you're going to get a little bit of drama and women's fiction mixed with like a really good love storyline. I'm ready. I'm ready. Last year she did a tour and she came to Charlotte and signed my This Can't Be Us cover. I'll put a photo here. It was amazing. Love it. I hope she does that again because this is a book that I really want to talk to her face to face and be like, thank you for writing it. I already know. I'm going to love it. So I'm already going to say thank you for writing it, Kennedy. Emily Henry is definitely one of those authors right now that I feel like anyone who's getting back into reading is automatically pushed towards, and for very good reason. I love her writing style, the way it's women's fiction, I feel like, more than romance. There's some depth to it. However, I will say, hopefully I don't sound like a hater, her past two books have not been my favorites. Now, I did love Happy Place. I loved it in a sense that it was not a romance for me. I went in with the idea that it was women's fiction because people told me don't go in thinking it's a romance. Other people did not have that same opportunity, so I think they were a little more upset with it. And then funny story for me, listen, I just can't get behind a male main character who is broke. I said it. I can't get behind a male main character that I'm supposed to fall in love with who wears Crocs. It's not for me. It's not for me, but I love that for you guys. I really do. If you loved Funny Story, then I'm happy for you. I'm so, so happy for you. But I need a little more from my male main characters. And besides those points of contention with myself, I have felt like there has been kind of a formula between her last few books that have felt just similar, where I'm like, let's push. Let's see what else we can do here, Emily. And I've had friends who have read the arc of her next book, Great Big Beautiful Life, and have said that it's something different. So I hope this is what brings me back in, because I'm ready. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist, still dreaming of her writing break. Hayden Anderson is Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they're both on a balmy little crescent island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years. Or at least meet the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who will tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1, Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she has a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2, she's ready for this job and the chance to impress a perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. And 3, Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in this shaken to the core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. Ooh. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery, tragedy, or love ballad, depending on who's telling it. Babes. Is it giving like a little bit of Seven Husbands? I feel like it's giving a little Seven Husbands. I think it's giving, God, I hope it's not giving Verity, because I don't want it to be a thriller in that sense. Just a little something with some romance mixed in. But I like it. I like the stakes. They're kind of high. And there's a little bit more oomph there than these past few books. So we'll see what happens. It's only 384 pages, and I feel like that's kind of shorter for her stuff. I'd have to go and like reference that looking at things, but it feels shorter. I'm not mad about it though. Next, we have Say You Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And can I just say that I feel like there has been a trend recently of authors making their titles Taylor Swift books for like the SEO and like fangirl of it all, which I am happy that there's a demographic who will eat that up. I do think it's a little cliche and a little overplayed at this point, and I'm kind of meh that that's the title name, because it feels very obvious to me. I have loved her Part of Your World series, and I've read her backlog behind that, and that's definitely my favorite from her. I think her writing has just continued to grow from there. So this is wonderful. This is not part of the Part of Your World's like little interconnected series. There might be no such thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes all while cuddling a tiny kitten? Immediately, yes. That is until Xavier opens his mouth and proves that even sculpted gods can say the absolute wrong thing. Like, really wrong. Of course, there's nothing Samantha loves more than proving an asshole wrong. Unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth, that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Samantha begs Xavier to forget her, to remember their night together as a perfect moment, as crushing as it may be. Only no amount of distance or time is nearly enough to forget that something between them. And the only thing better than one single perfect memory is to make a life and even a love worth remembering. That sounds beautiful. It sounds like I'm gonna cry. Like, doesn't it? It sounds like I'm gonna cry. This better be a happily ever after, which it has to be considered romance. And I feel like Abby Jimenez likes to follow the rules of romance to a T. So it will be, but I don't know if we'll get there in one piece. I think there will be some tears shed. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the pain. I'm ready for the beauty. Also, the cover, isn't it giving like Little Mermaid a little bit? Like, it has the dog, red hair. This looks like Prince Eric. Like, is this Little Mermaid fanfiction? I'll read it and get back to you, but wouldn't that be wild? Hey, duh. I don't know why I didn't even start off this video with the biggest drop, Onyx Storm, Part of the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, most colloquially known as Fourth Wing. I feel like everyone and their mother talks about this book. It's one of those that if you love romantasy, then it's everything that you ever wanted in a romantasy type of book. If that's not for you, then it's probably not hitting as well. I definitely have some people in my circle who are like, yeah, it's enough for me in terms of cringe level in terms of the romance, because it feels kind of YA and the discussions and the banter back and forth that they have. But the spice is, it's not YA. Let's just say that. Love it. It's got dragons. It's got a military war college. It's got fighting to the death. It's pretty intense, and I love the pacing of it. In the first book, the second book was absolutely something that I would fling from the top of a building. It was not for me. There were things revealed with it that definitely moved the story along that got me excited for book 3. But I'm really hoping for some redemption here in book 3. Otherwise, like, this might not be for me. After Fourth Wing came out, I did a deep dive of the rest of Rebecca Yarros' books. This is actually her first fantasy stuff. The other ones are more contemporary romances and military romances. And I personally feel like Fourth Wing is in like her top 3 or 4 books that she's written. And I think her writing level has just consistently grown. So I'm hoping for very good things here. And in her other books, she always has very strong endings, no matter how I feel about the story overall. So I have faith that she's plotted out something really incredible. And even though I didn't like book 2, I think it's going to be like a 4 or 5 book series. It's all leading up to something that's going to like blow my mind and be like 10 out of 10. At least that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe I'm projecting too much, putting too much faith in it, but I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm going to try and see if I can go to like a little release party or something, because it's fun. And I also love that like it feels more like a Twilight reminiscent time of all of the girlies like getting excited going to a midnight release for a book. Shout out to Book Talk and everyone else for like bringing back books again. I feel like I'm very excited that people are excited to, or I'm very happy that people are excited to like be reading again, and not just like, oh, loving to read, but giving books to friends and all the recommendations, just talking about it in like normal conversation. I feel like that gap was there for a little bit, and I'm excited to see that it's becoming more mainstream. So can't get enough of it. Continuing with my fantasy kick, I have Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. It is the 3rd book in the Legendborn series. I don't know if that's what it's actually, if the series is called the Legendborn series or not. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. I read the first 2 of these this past year. These have been out for a while because they're YA. So when people told me, hey, try this series out, I said immediately no. Like, I'm a big girl, don't need to be going back doing, child things. But let me tell you, do not let the YA stop you. This is some good ass romantasy. Like, it still has me kicking my feet giggling just because it's not like incredibly spicy or whatnot. I love the development of the relationships in here. There's a little bit of a love triangle going on, and it's so well written that I'm actually rooting for both men. Rare. And when I say rare, I mean never happens to me. So I love it. It's based in Arthurian legend lore. So you have the King Arthurs, the Round Table, Lancelot, all of that type of situation. So Bree, who's the protagonist, is a black girl who goes to college at UNC Chapel Hill. She's trying to figure out who killed her mother or what happened with the death of her mother, and she thinks it's tied to the secret society there on campus somehow. So the entire story is about her trying to like discover all of that, while also fighting some bad guys, The string of mysterious kidnappings escalates and Merlins are found dead. It becomes clear that no matter how hard Bree runs from who she is, the past will always find her. Come on, Tracy, come on! Next, we have The Night in the Moth by Rachel Gillig. She is the author of the Shepherd King duology, which is also known as One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. Loved this book. I talked about this in my last video. They were all my favorites for the reads of 2024. My husband read these too, and he absolutely loves them. This is her debut as well. I'm always so impressed by authors who can like kill it on their debut book, because a lot of times, like, there's some growing pains that have to happen. You learn what you like to read and share and what your audience thinks and all of this stuff, and it's an art form, it's a skill, it's everything. but to completely like knock it out of the park to me, especially with fantasy, when you're creating something completely out of thin air, incredible to me. So her next book comes out The Night and the Moth, and I'm excited to see what happens. I feel like you can only go up from obviously their debut. So I'm excited to see what she has. The description says, Sybil Delling has spent 9 years dreaming of having no dreams at all. Like the other foundling girls who traded a decade of service for a home in the great cathedral, Sybil is a diviner. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as omens. From them, she can predict terrible things before they occur, and lords and common folk alike travel across the kingdom of Trom's windswept moors to learn their futures by her dreams. Just as she and her sister diviners near the end of their service, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral, rude, heretical, and devilishly handsome. The knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil's visions, but when Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek his help in finding them. For the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answers she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, only a heretic can defeat a god. Bruh. Yeah, that sounds pretty great to me. It doesn't seem like this is a duology, or if it's standalone. I'll have to look that up, and then I'll like put a little note or something in the description or on the screen. But I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It sounds so fun. And again, after reading One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns, I think I'll pretty much say absolutely yes to it. My final fantasy book that I'm super excited about for 2025 is Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. I have read essentially 90% of what she has written, and everything continues to blow my mind. First of all, if you look her up, you find out that she's like in a doctoral program while also churning out 1 to 2 books a year, and these are like thick books that have to be heavily researched on top of like doing her own like thesis stuff, and it just makes no sense to me. I'm trying to remember how old she is, but I think she's like 25 or 26. It's insane. She has to be incredibly smart, and when you read these books, like, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like, the level of detail and research that goes into these types of worlds that she creates is incredible. So I already know that this, as her first like romantasy situation, it's going to have a chokehold, a true chokehold on me. The only books I haven't read by her are the second and third books of the Poppy War. I read the first one. It was so good and so well written that it actually scared me. The violence felt so real because it's taken from inspiration of things that happened in World War II, that I was like, you know what? I'm good. I get what you're trying to do. Applause. 5 stars. It was very well written, but like, that's it for me, because I heard it's basically the same, if not worse, than the rest of the book. So I was like, thank you, I'm done. But it was great. I loved it. Keep going, girl. Katabasis, noun, ancient Greek. The story of a hero's descent to the underworld. Alice Law has only ever had one goal: to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic. She has sacrificed everything to make that a reality: her pride, her health, her love and life, and most definitely her sanity. All to work with Professor Jacob Grimes at Cambridge, the greatest magician in the world. That is, until he dies in a magical accident that could possibly be her fault. Grimes is now in hell, and she's going in after him. Because his recommendation could hold her very future and is now in corporeal hands, and even death is not going to stop the pursuit of her dreams. Nor will the fact that her rival, Peter Murdoch, has come to the very same conclusion. With nothing but the tales of Orpheus and Dante to guide them, enough chalk to draw the pentagrams necessary for their spells, and the burning desire to make all the academic trauma mean anything, they set off across hell to save a man they don't even like. But hell is not like the storybooks say. Magic isn't always the answer, and there's something in Alice and Peter's past that could forge them into perfect allies or lead them to their doom. Come on. Are you not gagged at all of these descriptions? Like, that sounds so up my alley. It's insane. I love a good Greek mythology. I love the romantasy. I love the dark academia. I love a secret society. It's like she just took everything, put it in a little bowl, and said, here, I blended this and made it for you, and I will eat it. Eat it up, no crumbs. Okay, so let me know what you're excited to be reading this year in 2025. Obviously, there's some great things coming out. These are mostly of the romance variety. There's definitely more. I just don't have time to film it in this video because I've got to run, but I'll put those below. I have to know what else you're looking out for and what I should be looking out for, because obviously your girl loves to read, and I need to see what's going on to hit that goal of 125 books this year. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Love it. Thanks for coming back, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.